This tutorial is for section S22, Point, Slope, Form, Graph, and Equation for Algebra 1. The first thing you need to remember here is what is point, slope, form. So it looks like y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. So that has a lot of x's, a lot of y's, so let's unpack that before we get started. So what you should remember is that m is for slope. So that was true when we did slope-intercept form, and it's true for point-slope form as well. So typically we would have y equals mx plus b for slope-intercept form. We still have our y, we still have our m, and we still have our x, but instead of b, we have a point given with the slope. So that point, you'll see your x value and your y value here. So imagine that you have a point on your line that's given in an ordered pair, so your coordinates x and y. They're labeled as sub 1. They have little tiny ones underneath, so you don't get them confused with the regular y and the regular x. So for point slope form, you would see this y and this m and this x unchanging, but you would see, well, there would be a value for m, but what I want to get to is that the x and the y, those values will come from your ordered pair, right? You will also notice that it's a minus in front of the x and a minus in front of the y, or the y sub 1, and so you're going to have to change the signs on both of those. So if it was a negative, then it would be a positive now, because two negatives make a positive, right? And you'll see that in some upcoming sections if they want you to put in a negative number, if it already has minus, or if you need to change it to a plus. So the easiest way to show you is to walk you through some example problems. So if you had your point slope form, y plus 3 equals x minus 6, and they asked you to graph that equation, you need to find some information from this equation first. So you see that there's nothing in front of the x, so that breaks down into some invisible math. So how many x's are there? There's 1. So there's understood to be a 1 in front of that, so your slope is 1. So what I like to do is write underneath m equals 1. Alright, so we've gotten the information from that part. We know that the y is going to be the same and the x is going to be the same. We just got that 1 from in front of the x. So now the next two things that we see are going to be parts of our ordered pair. So if you jump back up here, the number with the x is going to be your x value. So this is minus 6, so we're going to have to flip the sign, and it's a positive 6. The number located with your y value is going to, or with y, is going to be your y value. So that's 3. We're going to have to change the sign, remember, so it's negative 3, right? So now, what information have we gathered from this equation? We got that our slope was 1, and that a point on this line is located at 6, negative 3. So these are just rough, quick sketches, so it'll be easier once you have the full graph in front of you. But we do have enough information to plot a line. First, we'll put a dot, we'll plot a point at 6, negative 3. So on my x-axis, I came over 6. On my y-axis, I went down 3. And so this point here is at 6, negative 3. But we can't draw a line with just one point, right? So then we use our slope. Since our slope is 1, and slope means rise over run, from the point 6, negative 3, I can go up 1 and over 1. So that would put us at 7, negative 2, right? So if you plot those 2 points, again by hand, that would be enough so that you could use a ruler to draw your line. But on the computer, once you plot those 2 points, it will automatically connect them and draw your line. So one more time, walking you through this, point slope form, they're giving us an equation. From that equation, we're able to gather the slope, rise over run, and then we're able to understand one point on that line. So we'll originally plot that first point, and then we'll use our slope to plot another point, and that will connect and make our line. So let's look at a couple more examples. Number 2, y minus 7 equals negative 5 times x plus 3. So the first thing I look at, I go back to my point slope form, and I can gather that my slope is negative 5, right? So I wrote down m equals negative 5. Then I use what value I have here located with my x, swap the sign, so negative 3, then the value located with y, negative 7, and I swap the sign to get positive 7. So now I have a point on the line and then the slope. So the first thing I'll do is plot this point, so negative 3, 7, and then I'll use the slope to find my next point. So since it's negative 5, I would go down 5 and over 1. And so that would be located at, let's see, what did we say? Down 5 and over 1. So that would be negative 2, let's see, sorry, I'm trying to do it backwards and sideways. So negative 2, and then down 5 would be 2. I think that's right, sorry. So negative 2 and then 2. That would be our next point. So once we plot those two, if we're doing it by hand, we would draw a line with our ruler. If you're doing it on your computer, it will automatically draw that next point, or that line from that next point. Number 3, y minus 3 equals 2 times x plus 5. 2 is our slope. What number is with x? It's 5, so we change the sign and that becomes the x of our ordered pair. What number is with y? Negative 3, so we change the sign, positive 3. That's the y value of our ordered pair. So first I'll plot this point, negative 5, 3. Then I'll use my slope up 2 and over 1 to plot my next point. So that would be, sorry, I should have written these in beforehand, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what that looks like. So if I'm going up 2, then my next point, my next y will be at 5. And then if I'm going, let's see, over 1, so negative 2. I'm so sorry I can't write sideways in the video. So you don't have to mark these or label these. I just wanted you to see how we use that slope to go up 2 and over 1 like that. It'll be so much easier on the graph when you have all the points labeled. These are just rough sketches, remember. So number 4, y minus 1 equals 1/2 x minus 2. Our slope is 1/2 and our point is 2 because we switched signs. From negative 1 we switched signs and got positive 1. So I plotted this point at 2, 1. Then I used my slope to go up 1 and over 2 to plot my next point from my line. Number 5, y plus 6 equals negative 1/3 times x plus 9. My slope is negative 1/3, my x value is negative 9, my y value is negative 6. So I plot this point first, negative 9, negative 6. Then from there I would go down 1 and over 3 to plot my next point to graph my line. Number 6, y minus 5 equals 1/2 x minus 1. Slope is 1/2, x value is 1, y value is 5. So I'll plot 1, 5, and then I'll use my slope to go up 1 and over 2 to plot my second point. Number 7, y minus 4 equals x plus 8. My slope, that invisible math tells me there's a 1 there. My x value is negative 8. My y value is positive 4 after I change those signs. So I'll plot negative 8, 4, and then I'll use my slope to go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. Number 8, y minus 1 equals negative x minus 6. So my slope here is understood to be a negative 1 because you see that negative sign in front of the x. So slope is negative 1, my x value is positive 6 and positive 1, so I'll plot 6, 1 first, then I'll use my slope to go down 1 and over 1. Number 9, y minus 6 equals negative 2/7 x plus 6. So negative 2/7 is my slope. X value, once I change the signs, is negative 6. The negative 6 becomes a positive 6. So my first point is at negative 6, positive 6. Then I'll go down 2 and over 7, which will take me across the y-axis for my second point. And the last example, number 10. Y plus 5 equals negative 1/4 times x plus 3. Our slope is negative 1/4. Our ordered pair for our point is negative 3, negative 5. So I'll plot that point first at negative 3, negative 5. Then I'll use my slope to go down 1 and over 4. So for me, this kind of fell outside of where my paper landed, so I went back 4 and up 1 to make sure that it's still a negative slope. And that's it.